had two very powerful battleships. Excuse my pronunciation, Tina, in particular. The Scharnhorst and the Gneisenau were very powerful battleships. They were brand new. They could do 32 knots, 60 miles an hour. They each had 11 foot guns. That was 11 feet or 11 inches. They're big guns. Each gun fired a shell weighing 1/4 of a ton, and each ship had 9 of them. So powerful were these guns, they'd sunk a British aircraft carrier, the HMS Glorious, and they'd hit it from 15 miles away. If you're not muted, can you hit mute? Thanks very much. Thanks, gang. By 1942, they'd sunk 22 British merchant ships, and they sailed to Brest in France for repairs. But Brest was too close to England. Several times a week, RAF bombers flew over and bombed the ships. They had to get them back to Kiel in Germany, where it was safe. All the experts said there was only one route back that was safe, up around the north of Scotland between Iceland and Greenland. The shortest route, of course, was via the English Channel, but that was unthinkable. At one point, it was only 20 miles wide. How could you even think of sending 2 of the most valuable ships in the world that close to England under the nose of the British? The experts said it was impossible, unthinkable, ridiculous. But that's what they did. At 11 p.m. in the pitch black, they began to sail up the English Channel. The British submarine, HMS Sea Lion, that was watching them had gone off to recharge its batteries. The RAF Hudson, flying reconnaissance overhead, missed them in the low cloud. The second RAF Hudson also missed them. The third Hudson had a problem with its radar, so it went back to base. And the fourth Hudson missed them in the fog. 2 reconnaissance Spitfires saw them but had no radio contact and had to fly back to base. 2 more Spitfires saw them but got into a fight with the covering Messerschmitts. By this time, the ships were so close to England, the shore batteries were firing at them, but they all missed. Then 6 redundant Swordfish biplane torpedo bombers attacked, and all were shot down. 5 motor torpedo boats tried to attack them, but were beaten off. 4 RAF Beaufort torpedo bombers got lost and couldn't find them. More Beauforts had to turn back for lack of fuel. 73 RAF heavy bombers attacked them, and then 134 more heavy bombers all failed. 6 destroyers attacked with torpedoes, all missed. 35 more bombers attacked, all missed. The only thing that damaged the 2 massive ships were the mines that they hit when they each stopped. They were each stopped for an hour. But during that time, nobody attacked them. Eventually, the 2 battleships reached the German port of Kiel in safety. In the attacks, the British lost 42 aircraft. The Germans lost 20. But the 2 warships that the British wanted to sink more than anything else had escaped by going through one place everyone said was unthinkable: Britain's backyard. As the newspaper The Times said at the time, there was nothing more mortifying to the pride of our sea power that has happened since the 17th century. The lesson is that the experts are very good at telling you what cannot be done. They're not so good at telling you what can be done, because all experts can do is repeat conventional wisdom. Experts aren't creative, which is why they're considered experts. To them, creativity is risky, unconventional, outrageous, unthinkable. Sometimes the creative thing to do is exactly what the experts say is unthinkable, simply because the experts won't be thinking about it or expecting it. What's your takeaway from that? A thought, an insight, a question, a smart remark? Put it into the chat. Why'd you get nervous, Catherine?
Because I'm curious about what exactly is coming today.
Okay, we'll find out. It's called Mystery Day, partly because I didn't want to know in advance where we'd go. I like to create space for not knowing. And so today is Mystery Day. I like the insights. Let's do this. So here's my context for Mystery Day. It's about breaking down the veil between the present and the future. So it's a day of dreaming. And later on, I'll tell you about an assignment you're going to do after we're finished. You're going to get messages sent to the app giving you some written assignments or some writing assignments. There's something really powerful about writing, particularly putting pen to paper. My youngest son right now is supposed to be learning handwriting, and he's not really into it because it's hard to do and he doesn't like it. And so he's realized, oh, he can type on the computer and it's so easy. And so he's writing great stories on the computer. But I do want to help to encourage him to handwrite, because there's something about the exercise of writing that makes left brain, right brain connections, that lets things really sink in. And it's so easy these days to say, well, if I'm going to write, at least if I type it, if there's a good idea, I can cut and paste it into an article or whatever I want to do with it, or my to-do list. But there's something very powerful about handwriting. And you'll have 6 tasks that you will receive today after we're finished. There'll be time intervals, they'll pop up in the app. You can feel free to complete them in your own time, but I really recommend you start them when you receive them. And I know you've got life going on, so you choose how you do it. The idea is that you dream big. You dream without any fear, and you write it all down. And you don't have to share it with anyone other than yourself. This isn't one of those ones where I'm going to trick you later and say, now you have to share it. You may choose to, and you may not. Sometimes there's power in sharing what you're not ready to share. And sometimes there's power in keeping to yourself what you're not ready to share. The instruction will be, put your whole heart into it and write like there's no tomorrow. Write like your life depends on it, because it does. So that's the context for mystery. And behind that, where I want to go today, is this idea of writing. One of the people I find most interesting to read right now is a young guy. I think he's about 27, 28, 29, David Perell. Anyone familiar with David Perell? A couple of you are. David writes, he teaches a course online about how to write, particularly online. I'm going to read some, there's no passage there. I've taken some of my favorite quotes from him. Let me read a bunch to you. And then I'll post it all in the chat later so you don't have to write them all down. Save money on marketing by teaching your customers instead of buying their attention. The world rewards the people who are best at communicating ideas, not the people with the best ideas. Writing online without building an email list is like playing Monopoly, passing Go, and not collecting $200. This is one of my favorite ones that's coming next. People overestimate the benefits of consuming content and underestimate the benefits of producing it. Consume less, produce more. If you wait to start writing until you've found your voice, it's like waiting to start driving until all the lights are green. Old school creativity. Wait for a creative vision and then wait to publish until your idea is perfect. New school creativity. Learn in public, publish all the time, and double down what sticks. And what follows from that is that writing online is the seed of entrepreneurship. When you write online, it teaches you how to clarify your ideas, make them useful, and distribute them to an audience. Those are the same skills as building a business. Whenever somebody says they don't like your work, remember that millions of people don't like the Mona Lisa. If you want to improve your writing, stop trying to sound smart. The best way to keep someone's attention is to surprise them. Once you're predictable, you're boring. Write about things that nobody else is writing about. Building an audience is easier when you're the only person who does what you do. We've been talking about that for the last couple of days. Narrow down. Here's my favorite of the lot. Writing online is networking for introverts. Instead of chasing the best people, you can have the best people come to you. Skip the conferences, publish your best ideas instead. Now, when you hear me say writing, that could completely interchangeable with making videos on YouTube, having podcasts where you share your thoughts out loud. If you like to talk to get your ideas out, then use the app Otter, Otter. It's got AI and it will transcribe in real time everything you say. So you can record a podcast and it'll be transcribed by the time you finish the entire text of the podcast. Then you can get it edited and put it out in writing. But all of this is what I'm referring to when I talk about writing, producing. This pile of books behind me, all written by clients. DTK, David is in the room here. Elaine is in the room here. Teo's in the room here. Shelley's in the room. Christopher's in the room. Some of the others are other clients of mine. And then a new book just received 2 days ago from a client of mine, Emily Golden. She was in the first ever cohort of Project Kairos. Her book's called The New Golden Rule. Well, her last name's Golden. And when she was creating a book, I said to her, well, what if you used your name in it and called it The Golden Rule, but flipped the Golden Rule on its head? And here it is, The Golden Rule. A book is a fantastic way to have your clients drawn to you, to want to know more. I gave someone a challenge the other day. Dorothy, I think it was you, right? What was the title of the book that you've been playing with? Oh, you have to unmute.
Confessions of a Failed Tiger Mom.
Yeah, I love that. And what did you come up with as the chapter titles?
Oh, wow. So let me go back to my piece of paper. Okay. First was you can't fail an eye test. No such thing as a clean plate. Oh, sorry. No such thing as a clean plate club. You don't have to play the violin. Listen to your ancestors. 3 is a magic number. Life is a bag of rice. And the other one I came up with this morning is an Asian F. The Asian F is still an A. It's actually an A minus.
I love that. So turn each of those into an article. Write an article about each one of those.
Yeah, it was really, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I think that I realized that was basically a title of a blog post or an email or an article, because I think that, I definitely have an irreverent sense of humor, but each of those titles actually has a substantive story and message. So
they do. So they're counterintuitive, they're provocative, they're interesting. There's something very personal about each of them you can tell. There's a story behind there. So that's beautiful. That's your next steps. Turn them into articles, and then you'll be surprised how quickly you could create what I call a tiny book. And it's very important these days to not worry about creating a big, thick book. Tiny books are really key. Yeah, I'll pause there. I'm going to talk more about this later in the week, so I don't want to say too much about that in this moment. But I love that, Dorothy. Thanks for taking on the task so fast. All right. Who wants to play? We're going to play Hey Yo a little bit later. So this isn't Hey Yo. This is around this particular topic, around your thought leadership, getting your stuff out into the world, being provocative. What have you got? Who's got a question for me? Who wants coaching on something? Who wants to be drawn in this moment? Let's see. So keep your hands up, because I want to try and read the room and see. Sometimes I'm drawn to the first person, sometimes I'm drawn to the last person. And I've got a couple of screens I've got to look through. Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Hey.
So I'm having a lot of anxiety today, and feeling, especially in this topic, because and whenever there's a little voice in my head that goes, what you have to say isn't that important. It isn't that original. I have a huge compare and despair monster that sits on my shoulder.
Oh, I love that phrase. Who knows that one? Compare and despair.
Yeah. So it's, yeah. I just feel like I don't have anything important to share, which is, I get it intellectually. It's ridiculous, and it's very real and visceral for me right now.
Yeah. This is like Alexis yesterday saying, I'd be mortified to ask for a referral. You know, Alexis has got $500,000 clients and is mortified to ask for a referral. And you've got a community you've been building for years, Helen, and yeah, it feels like, well, what have I got to share? So the muscle that we need to build is a muscle of courage. And courage is doing what you need to do before you're ready to do it. We don't need confidence. Confidence will come down the road. We kind of want to wait till I don't feel confident. I couldn't do that. So you don't need confidence. You need courage. I can't remember if I told you this, Helen. I've shared it before, but when I lost my job in England, I knew I needed to get away from England. And I was doing a lot of yoga at the time. And I wanted to do a yoga course because it just felt it'd be fun to get away. And there was no yoga courses longer than a week internationally, other than a teacher training. And I didn't want to be a yoga teacher, but I wrote to this teacher who had a course in Thailand because I thought it'd be fun to live in Thailand for a month. And I said, look, I'm not sure I'm supposed to be a yoga teacher, and I've only been doing yoga for about 4 or 5 years. And she said, Rich, some people want a yoga teacher who can cross their ankles behind the back of their neck. And some people want a yoga teacher who's just a tiny step ahead of them. And that gave me the permission that, oh, I could be a yoga teacher for them. Turned out I wasn't meant to be a yoga teacher, but I was a coach for people I was a step ahead of. And I've continued to be a coach for people I'm a step ahead of. The people in this community, as you may have gathered, are extraordinary. And so, and many of you are doing things, actually, that's even the wrong phrase these days. I'm not a step ahead of anyone in this room. There's extraordinary people here. I don't need to be. I just write about stuff that interests me, and turns out the ones who are interested come.
I think the challenge that I find is in that moment, I literally cannot find my creativity. It's like everything shuts down. It's and I get a brain freeze, and so it's like how to move forward beyond that in that moment.
So this is where we had to go from impossible goals to tiny, tiny, tiny goals. Tell me the name of one of your favorite clients.
Noel.
What's one idea that you could share with Noel? It doesn't matter whether it's one of your ideas, whether it's one you've heard in the last few days, one you read in a book, but what's one idea that you think, oh, she would love this idea?
Well, literally everything I learned from here, from like the serpents and the portals idea. Great. You know, I'm even looking at that in her Great. Own life. Mm-hmm.
Could you write something or share something with her in person about the game called Portals and Serpents?
Yes.
That's it. That's where you start. Often I write my articles for one person. I've coached a client and I've got an idea, or I've worked with Project Kairos or in 4PC, and something comes up, and I'm going to write an article on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 marketing. I'm going to write an article on Portals and Serpents. I mean, it's all going to come because I'm teaching it here, and I watch what lands and I watch what doesn't. And then I'll sometimes teach it in another place and see, oh yeah, it's really, and I'm honing it. So go really, really small. Think about Noel. What's one thing she'd love to hear? And I know you like to write. So write one thing for Noel and then send it to her. Go in this direction to tiny, tiny steps rather than that direction to how do I create a book and who would want to read it. Start here. And build up a little bank of tiny articles for individual people.
I like that.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Helen. Elaine, I saw your hand up.
Yeah.
Hey.
I was really struck by that quote, and I really would like it, the piece about the experts. That the experts are good at telling you what cannot be done. And So in the work that I do, part of our framework is that, you know, the experts tell parents what to do, but they don't help them figure out how. And we're all about figuring out how and helping them apply this sort of coaching framework to do it. The challenge that was coming up as you were talking was, I've been doing this for a dozen years now, and now I'm the expert. So, or I'm seen as the expert, or they want to see me as the expert. So how do I position myself as a non-expert and still be the expert? Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. There's a great book on that concept called Rookie Smarts.
Okay.
And Rookie Smarts is about the fact that when you're a beginner, you when you're not the expert, you think, well, I'm going to do it this way, and no one's told me not to. You know, we've all done it. I got no doubt every one of us in this room here, when we started our career, we took risks, we did things differently, we got told off by people like, no, this is not how you're supposed to do it. But we didn't know. And that attitude you can bring in. So I would start talking about that. Define yourself as the non-expert expert. Like, find a way to square the circle on that one. Yeah.
I mean, we talk, and there's this other dynamic of, we don't want to piss off the professionals who are referring to us, right? So it's a weird kind of circular conversation. And I love the idea of the sort of non-expert experts. But in a medical realm, you have to have some expertise to have some credibility. And we worked really hard to build the credibility.
Yeah. Well, it's the paradox, right? It's one of the reasons why people in their 80s can say anything they want, because they no longer give a fuck.
Yeah.
And it's like, we can channel some of that energy right now. How can you bring some of that in? So like, yeah, you've got your chops. You know, you've been doing this for long. You've established yourself as an expert, which means you can now say whatever you want.
Yeah, maybe I just got to figure out what it is. And what we've been playing with is stopping making people comfortable and starting to sort of lean into a different conversation around what the experts are telling you doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And you know it doesn't work, and we know it doesn't work. And so it's time to do something different.
Well, how many of you who are parents know that one? The experts can say all this stuff about parenting, but it just doesn't work. When you're a real parent and you're a working parent and you're trying to homeschool at the same time as so yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And it's that phrase about the Mona Lisa, right? We forget this. Millions of people don't like the Mona Lisa. There'll be lots of people who don't like you when you go in this direction. That's great.
Yeah.
You've already built this audience. You're going to get a different audience, but a more interested audience in what you're teaching next.
Yeah.
You guys, that silence from Elaine, that looking up that she's doing, that she said a couple of times, these are the little sounds and sights that you see when someone's in an insight space. There's no, it's not like she's got an answer. She hasn't got a download for, I know the 27 steps, but possibilities are there. They're cloudy right now, but they're newer possibilities than the way that it's been done until now. It's a good space to be.
And what's coming up, Rich, is that it's not about changing what we're teaching. It's changing about how we talk about what we're offering.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Elaine.
Thank you.
Who else wants to play? Hey, George.
Morning, Rich.
What you got?
So my courage in speaking out is actually going to come from Georgie and the conversation that we had the other day. So thank you. I have just decided to become a professional coach in July. And I've just taken your exponential coaching program through Mind Valley and literally just finished right before this. So it's fun to be live in this community now. And there's this calling that has been kind of downloaded, that has been kind of coming through me about how I can make the biggest impact in the world. And there's a conflict because there's a desire to want to support really powerful people and make a huge impact in the world through those people. And the other day when you said, you know, hey, who's your favorite superhero? I said Yoda, but I really realized that it was Morpheus from Matrix, because he's the guy that helps people wake up. And he's not the main superhero, but he's respected by people, but he's kind of in the shadows, and all the lights on Neo, but Morpheus is guiding Neo to the power that he does not yet see in himself. And I believe that's my gift. And I also believe that there's a healing component, and the outcome that I'm believing, I'm starting to really kind of, my mind is catching up with my soul, is that the outcome that I have to offer for high performers isn't their getting through their mental and emotional blocks to achieve their goals. It's to achieve peace and harmony. Because I've been a top performer, I've been a top salesperson, I've made the money, I've done the things, and then not felt the fulfillment, not felt a sense of gratification with myself, not felt wholeness, felt empty. And for the first time in my life, because I made the big fucking decision through fear to move home to LA, quit my role with Tony Robbins, move in with my parents, and go all in on this coaching thing. For the first time in my life, I'm truly living in my purpose every day. That doesn't mean that I've achieved the things that I want to achieve and the big impossible goals that I want to achieve, but I feel this profound peace that I've never felt before in my life. And it's no longer tethered to the things that I want to achieve. It's here, it's now. And it's because of all this work in healing, in yoga, in meditation, in plant medicine, in coaching, in personal development. It's just an accumulation of so much that is all, and years and years and years of shadow work to just lead me to this point where I just was finally able to follow my intuition, have the wisdom and courage to follow it, and the faith knowing that if I continue to do that every single day, it's going to be okay. And so there's this, I guess how I can be served is just helping continue to ground into that calling that I feel, and let go of the things that I feel like I should do or need to do, or, you know, I need to be more popular, I need to be more seen, I need to be more visible, I need to get my message out through a podcast, through a book. And right now I just feel very called into coaching, but there's still that inner cognitive dissonance that shows up for me.
Thanks for sharing, first of all. It feels really good on you. I mean, it's the secret that all of you will either know or discover at some point, that whatever they come to you for, there's only one thing you're actually helping them to get more of, and that's inner peace. And they come to you for 3 or 4 different reasons. They want to make more money, they want to have better relationships, they want to leave a legacy. Those are really the only 3 reasons people come to you. That's why they come. But then you help them get what they really need. Or you don't. Most coaches actually play a different game, George. Most coaches will play the game of, no, I'll help you get what you want. And then it doesn't really satisfy them. So, well, let me help you some more. And let me help you some more. And let me help you some more. And you can make a lot of money playing that game. But you're playing a much more powerful game. And to play it with high performers, they're the kind of people who will get that, because they know now that that you can have everything you ever wanted and still feel empty on the inside. So how can I help you in this moment?
I think that the fear that comes up is, what's the best way to put myself out there? And is it kind of this, like, not a bait and switch, but it's like they think they're signing up to achieve their goal, to make their legacy, to make a big impact. But what they're really looking for is the peace, and they don't yet even really know what it is they want. Or is it, do I put myself out there? I was like, hey, this is the outcome. I'm calling in these people who don't have peace in their life, who don't feel like they're living in harmony. And that's why you show up to work with me. And then if that is the case, the fear that shows up is, will people be willing to pay? And this sounds a little yucky, but will people be willing to pay the big fees for that?
So George, what is this thing of which you talk put myself out there?
It's how I'm showing up and where I'm showing up from, and what the message is when I.
Yeah, but I think you're missing my point. I'm trying to be facetious,
Oh.
and so it's not landing
Okay.
very well. But where you are right now, so there's what I'm teaching a lot of. I'm moving more into the next few days at this accelerator is the idea of thought leadership. How do you become known? But where you are with this new level of business that you're creating, you want to master the prosperous coach approach, which means that one relationship at a time, one connection at a time, you need to serve people so powerfully that they either say, oh my God, how do I do more of this? Or thanks very much, and they're gone, but they'll never forget that conversation ever. That's the place you need to go. Serve people really, really powerfully again and again and again. And when they say, how much does it cost to work with you? You pull out a menu and you say, there's 3 ways to work with me. Which one would you like? Master that game first. I recommend writing and sharing what you're thinking, whether that's on anything from Twitter to YouTube to your own blog. I recommend sharing your thoughts. But don't worry as a tool to get where you want to get to, because that's, for some of the people in this group, they've mastered the prosperous coach approach. They are oversubscribed. They've got 10, 15, 20 clients. They've got more than enough one-on-one clients. They're looking at, well, how do I have a different category of client? How do I scale what I'm doing? They're playing a different game. But the new game you're playing right now, the transition you're in, is the prosperous coach approach. It really works, and you need to master it. And so don't worry about how do I get the word out. Think about one person. Who would I love to talk to? Who can I serve today? That's it.
Beautiful. That's what I needed.
Cool.
That's what I needed. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Who else gets that for them? Oh yeah, it's the prosperous coach approach. I still got to master that. That's still the game I need to put my attention on right now before I go in a different direction. Let me just check in. Yeah. I felt that side, George. You're not muted yet, so that was great. I felt that. Okay, cool. Yeah. Look, I still play that game of creating clients using the prosperous coach approach. The last few years, I've built a business on the side, but one-on-one clients, it's always in a relationship, always is one conversation at a time. All right, let's play Christmas. There's something in your pack that looks like that. There's no label on it. It's about 5 inches by 3 inches. Let's unmute and rip it open together.
Can you show that again, Rich?
Oh.
Thanks.
Wendy, what's it called in the app?
So this is one of the gifts that's waiting for you in your box. It's not revealed in the app. It's one of the, like a book that you'll, to be, yeah.
Wait, Danielle, hold it up to camera.
Wheat.
Nice.
Oh, I love that.
Beware, for I am fearless and therefore powerful.
So actually, if you look carefully, you'll see there's a whole bunch of cards here. And this is more like a frame, and that you pick the card that you choose for that day or for that moment, and it gets to stand on your desktop with whichever quote you want for the day.
Sweet. Thank you.
This is awesome.
This is
good
thank
gift.
you.
Amazing.
This
Love
is
this.
Such a cool gift.
Thank you. This is freaking cool.
Thank you.
All right. I'm pissed I didn't create it.
I like these quotes.
This one speaks to me.
Thanks,
Be
Rich.
courageous. It is one of the last places left uncrowded.
Nice, Tom. Nice.
Oh boy, that's
Do one thing every day that scares you.
on my desk. Thank you.
I love it. It's nice hearing in real time which are the quotes that speak to you guys. There's a couple of you who haven't got boxes right now, and let yourself feel everything you feel. That sense of like, oh, I wish I had mine, and let it flow through you. It can be intense, that feeling, but your ability to handle strong emotions is a really powerful skill set. Beautiful. All right. Mr. Maher, Hey, Christopher, you're not muted, so it's perfect. How would you like to play today?
Let's see. What's the subject matter?
Life, my friend, life. Can everyone else hit mute? We were still a few of us unmuted from that exercise. Christopher, you can have a hey yo. You can ask to be coached. You can put your next project into the world.
Yes. For me, I think it's a hey yo. I shared last time that we got together in 4PC that I had a lot of success with getting in contact with the coach that I wanted to get in contact with.
Actually, Christopher, take me back, because you were, I think it was at my house when you shared this dream that you had about getting in touch with someone who you didn't even know. It seemed like an impossible goal. Take us back to that moment. What was it that you said you wanted to create back then?
Back then, I wanted to get in contact with the coach from Penn State's football team.
And that was last December, because I think we were filming at the house.
Yeah.
And Christopher says, here's this thing I want to create. Seems impossible, but this is what I want. And sometimes it's so powerful to speak into the world your desires, because within a few months, we had a 4PC call and you shared us. Now bring me up to date to what happened next.
So what happened next is I was watching the Big Ten Wrestling Championships. I'm a wrestling fan from Pennsylvania. And a few of the athletes had gotten injured. And I knew there was no way they were going to win the national championship with the injuries that they had. And the national championship was in 2 weeks. So I was talking to my lady, and I was telling her, I got to get in contact with this guy to help them. I have these tools. It would be really great. And she was like, there's no way. This guy's he's the best college wrestler of all time. He's an Olympic wrestler. There's no way you're going to get within 2 feet of him. And as soon as she said that, this inside of me, I felt like this lion go, what? Yes, I will definitely find a way to get in contact with him. So I drove home late that night and I was just scouring through the internet, and he had a website, and on his website, you could leave complaints about the website. So I went in and I shared with him, my name's Christopher Lee Maher. I'm a former U.S. Navy SEAL. I know you're getting ready to go to the national championships. I can get your athletes ready so that you can win another national championship, and I can bring your injury rate down by at least 35 to 55%.
Can you pause what you got? Hold on to the thought that's coming next. I want to capture for everyone else what just happened. Christopher speaks the desire into the room. December. A little while later, he's watching something on TV, because what happens in the moment you speak a desire out, your reticular activating system turns on. Your reticular activating system, you'll know it because anytime you buy a new car and you're driving around the streets in that car, you see that car everywhere, right? And you want to wave at the drivers. Oh, I've got one of those too. That feeling. That's your system. It's designed to look for the things that your brain's putting your attention on. So Christopher sees this thing on TV. His system turns on. His woman says to him, you can't do that. I say about twice a year, I have about a couple of clients a year I have who are the kind of people if someone says that's impossible, what goes inside of them is, I'll show you. And I like clients like that, because once I catch that's who they are, I just say, oh, you could never do this. And they come back to me a week or a month later. It's like, hey, I did it. So that switched on. And then you did what we forget. The internet is such a powerful tool these days to get information about people. You did a bit of research. And then often it's so much easier than we think to reach out to people. And you just send a message on his site. And that message was very powerful because it was very concise. It was very clear. Christopher owned who he was in the past. We often want to leave it behind. I used to do this thing. I worked in finance. I worked at a big tech company, but we're done with it. We don't want to talk about it. But these are sometimes our headlines that have people go, wow. And he owned it. This is who I've been in the past. This is what I've done. And here's what I can do for you now, very clearly. Okay, I wanted to bookmark that for everyone so they heard what was going on, Christopher. What happens next?
What happens next is I wake up and there's a text from Cale Sanderson. And he says, I'm interested in what you have to say. How soon can we have a phone call? I get out of bed, I send him a text back, and we have a short call. And he says, okay, I'm open. He sends me a check in the mail, flies me first class to Penn State. I'm sitting there with him. We're hanging out. We literally hung out the whole weekend, spent a lot of time with his family. It was a really great time. And then he says to me, hey, I want to introduce you to the head coach from Penn State's football team. And there's a knock at the door, and I open the door, and it's the coach from Penn State's football team. And he comes in, and we have a 3-hour conversation.
I love it. You immediately take me back to the word magic from day one, because from the outside, that looks like magic. But when you track it on the inside, there's no magic there. There's no guarantee that would happen if you did exactly the things Christopher did. But when you do those things, and they're very simple, each one of them, then magic seems to occur. Beautiful. Beautiful. A great story. I'm glad we got to share that one with everybody. That's awesome.
So with the Hey Yo that I want to get into, it's, I'm a sports guy, obviously. And my favorite team to watch is the Philadelphia Eagles. And they continue to be the most injured football team the last 5 years. And their athletes are continuing to get the same injury. And I know the solution for that. So I've got on the LinkedIn, I've scoured the internet to find ways, and the strategy that I use to get the kale isn't working the same. Because the difference between Kale and the Philadelphia Eagles is Kale Sanderson's Penn State has won 9 out of the last 10 national championships, and they would have won the last one. But so where I'm stuck is, how do I move forward? So I think I have to come up with a new strategy to get to these guys.
What's your hey yo?
My hey yo is, does anyone in the field know anyone who is either currently a professional coach in football in the National Football League, or anyone that's a GM, or anyone that's an owner of a football team in the National Football League?
And unmute if that's you right now, or let's see what's going on in the chat.
I could ask a friend of mine whose son is a huge recruit to Kentucky for basketball. I could just ask his dad, because he's deep in sports and knows a lot of people.
Okay, that'd be great.
Christopher, from our conversation, it's Dorothy, from yesterday. So Dan and I, we know coaches from the Seahawks. And from there are people at USC who are, because they followed Pete Carroll. So so a lot of them are actually down in LA. So I can see what I can do.
Oh, that would be great. Thank
Thanks,
you so
Dorothy.
much.
Thanks, Monique. Thanks, Dorothy.
And they're 5-0 this year, so you know.
Hey,
like the fact.
Hey, Matt, someone gave you a shout out in the chat, and I know your background's in sports. Anything that comes to your mind in this moment?
Yeah, there are a handful of athletes that play in that league, not at the coaches level, but Christopher will make sure that we can provide some introductions to those athletes, particularly on the Broncos, which I'm sure they could use your help as well. So.
Oh yeah, they're suffering. They've got the same problem the Eagles had the last 5 years.
Yeah, and somebody that used to work for me actually is in a relationship and with somebody that plays on that team, so it's a pretty close one. So we can take care of that.
Okay, and the good thing is their coach is ambitious, and so is their GM.
So beautiful. Thank you for those three of you who just spoke up when Christopher made his request. The power of going for something that's impossible is what I talked about yesterday. You can be committed and unattached. It might turn out that it's never the Philadelphia Eagles that Christopher connects with. It just might be that the universe never made that happen. But because he's working towards that, these other connections happen. And it turns out it's some other team. And it wasn't a team who was struggling with injury. It's a team that needed some other kind of support. This is the power of going after what you want, being fully in it, committed, but not attached. If he's attached, he's going to feel down every time the connection doesn't work, it doesn't happen, and your energy just goes down and down and down. With an impossible goal, there's no way you can make this happen, so let's just play. So this is great, Christopher.
Thank you.
Christopher's one of the people in 4PC who's very good at modeling for us. Comes into the sessions. If the only thing Christopher did each time we meet in 4PC was put into the room what he wants to create, and it was all he did. No coaching happened. Amazing things would happen. Because this game of hey yo is very powerful. Most of us don't know how to ask for what we want. And you model it very well, Christopher.
Thank you so much. The irony is that in my personal life, right, it's a very difficult thing for me to do, right? And so I feel,
say more.
Well, I feel like the benefit of being in 4PC is you're with all these other powerful auras and people who are very accomplished at figuring out how to be themselves and identify what they really want and have the courage to walk away from things that don't work for them. And, you know, when you're in that circle, all that pressure, all that energy, just brings the best out in you. And then I'm realizing, especially over this last week, that it'd be good for me to apply the same strategies where I know that I need help in my interpersonal life, but I don't ask for help.
So let's practice right now. Where do you need help in your interpersonal life?
Well, now I have to really think about it because because I haven't totally investigated that. I need help. I think where I need help is in communicating what my desires, wants, and needs are. One, taking the time to sit down and write them down and then communicate them in a way that is that will be received well.
By who?
By my family, my brother and I. We struggle in our relationship because we both have strong personalities, and it's we just haven't had a good go of it for a decade.
That sounds very powerful, and it came too fast. What's the one beneath that? What's the one you haven't yet said, the more challenging one? Because I think that's a great exercise that you just said, and you're very good at teaching others to communicate their desires, wants, and needs. So it makes sense that it might be hard for you, but what's behind that? What's the one that might be a bit embarrassing to say out loud right now, or I don't want to go there in this moment?
Well, you know, there's just some conversations that I need to have with my mom that are difficult to have because she's starting to fall apart. And yeah, there are some things I haven't said to her.
Yeah.
And they're sobering conversations around her health, and I find my time more appeasing her and entertaining her, but not really necessarily challenging her.
That's probably one of the hardest ones. Who knows that? Conversations with parents where there's things you need and want to say to them that will be valuable to them, but it's just so hard to do. Yeah. I just want you to see you're not alone in that, Christopher. I'm very grateful. In my men's group, before my dad passed away, the guys pushed me to write him a letter to say all the things that I really wanted to say. And I avoided it and tried not to do it and tried to be slippery. And they just, one meeting, they literally sat down and 6 guys stood around me while I hand wrote this letter to him. I was crying while I wrote it. I hated the guys, but I poured my heart out to say everything I wanted to say. And then I was flying to England a few months later, and I saw him, and for the whole week I was there, I had this letter in my pocket, and I couldn't do it. It felt like there was a reason I couldn't do this, couldn't share it with him. And finally, on the very last day I was supposed to be there, something happened, but my mum had to be out. The family was not around. It was just me and my dad. And it was like, oh, thanks, universe. And I said, Dad, I want to share some things with you I've never shared with you. And I've written it down to help me share it. And we both cried as I read him this letter. It's 6 years ago in a couple of days that he passed away. And I'm so grateful. I feel that whilst I grieved him, I don't think I had to grieve him quite as much as my brothers did, because I got to say everything that was really important. And I was really touched because, and surprised when I went back later, or I spoke to him later that day, I think he'd given the letter to my mum to read. I didn't know he'd even do that. And so it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I'm so grateful I got a chance to do that.
Mm. Mm. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Christopher. Hey guys, let's take a 3-minute break. Move, stretch, get some water. Definitely move your bodies, dance if you need to. We'll see you in 3 minutes. Thanks, Christopher. Hey gang, Kanchan, I saw your thing in the chat. That's exactly why we do it. All right, gang. Let me give you a bit of logistics about the next couple of days, and then we'll dive back in. So tomorrow we have a couple of things, brilliance sessions. These are an opportunity for our members of our community to share some of their brilliance. Some of them are sharing things that they've been working on for years. It's their real genius. Some of them are honing a new level of genius, something that's new, a new idea or a new thought, a new distinction to teach. You have to pick whose session you go to. You can't see them all live. You have to choose. When you go to the app, there are 2 time blocks of an hour each, and there are 4 at one time and then 4 another time. You need to choose. And here's what I'm going to recommend to you. Choose what speaks to you. If one of those people is your friend, don't go because they're your friend. Go because what they've shared speaks to you, because you want to learn about something that they're sharing, or because who they are from the time you've had with them over the last few days speaks to you. It will be edgy. It's possible that someone will have a talk and no one will show up. They will get what they need from that, I promise you. Our job is not to have this be fair and make sure there's an equal number of people each talk. Go to the talk that speaks to you. They'll all be recorded. You can watch them later, but go to the one that speaks to you. And we'll have learnings and insights from whatever happens. So the app will tell you what to do. It will have a button to click for each of those talks at the times. Pick the one you're going to go to. I think it's 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. tomorrow. And those are the brilliant sessions. Choose powerfully. Choose what speaks to you. Then there are deep dives, and the deep dives are a bit later on. What we've done, we've drawn out 3 of the threads that have felt there's real interest for people to dive into. And some of the members of our community will be facilitating those conversations. This time, pick the conversation you want to be in. You can't jump from one to the other. You're going to just pick one, and you'll spend some time diving deeper into that conversation. One of the themes is, what's your magic? Maybe you already know what it is and want to hone it. Maybe you're not sure what it is. You can go to those sessions on a deep dive, because I just want to listen. I don't want to contribute. I just want to listen and hear. You can choose how you play on the deep dives. What's your magic? Kanchan and Tony will be facilitating that one. The second deep dive theme is visibility versus vulnerability. That desire to put yourself out there, but that fear of what happens when you do, and that conflict between the 2 of those. That will be Erin and Maura facilitating that conversation. And the third conversation we're calling Living Half a Life. It's that line from that poem that seemed to strike so many of you, living a half life. And Alexis, Artin, and Matt will be facilitating that one. We're not recording those conversations. They're live and in the moment. And the team leaders will decide whether you have some of that with everyone there or smaller groups. Like I say, you can go along because you just want to listen and find out what others have got to say, because you want to contribute and think there's some value in the conversation. But that's what happens tomorrow. On Sunday is our day of rest. Take time for yourself. Take time off. There will be a button in the app that tells you it's the day of rest, but I think Wendy's made the button 9 a.m. to 9:01 a.m. So it's really clear. There's no session to get on. It's just time to relax. Take time for yourself. So there's some of the logistics. Let's play some more. Who do I want to call on? Chris, Joseph. Hey, Chris.
Found the unmute button. Thanks, Rich. Second.
No, the reason I'm calling on Chris is Chris reached out to me and he took no chances. He messaged me by email and on Facebook, I saw. And I like that. It's something you want. So what you got, Chris?
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Yeah, you're playing the game yesterday. Hey, yo. I was sitting there thinking, okay, I know what I want to ask for. And it feels really edgy because what I've realized my edge is not in the stuff I've worked through, which is some big shit, but in actually revealing my work. That's what my real edge is. So my request, I'm launching Project V. So V.
So hold on a second. What I don't want to ask you, what I don't want you to do right now is to pitch something you're about to create. So I want to put that in as a distinction. What do you want to get from this conversation? And then we'll see where we go.
I often think at the end of the day, if more people could see what I do, then that would just simply be a greater service to the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like an artist that's got like a Picasso and I'm giving private viewings all the time, and it isn't fair.
Nice. Who's also tired of being a best kept secret? Okay.
And that's the irony. I have, a header on LinkedIn that says, when you're a great coach and you know you're the world's best kept secret, who do you turn to for help? And the irony is that in many regards, I am that person. It can't continue. No. So
why not? What if you were okay with being a best kept secret? You make a great income. You have a great lifestyle now. Why do you want something more? What if that was it? What if you were that was your destiny, best kept secret, but everyone you worked with, you had a massive impact on. You had a great income. You took care of your family. You raised your one daughter, right?
One daughter, one son. Yeah.
One daughter, one son, and you raised your kids to live a great life. What if that was it?
It just doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't feel right. This isn't about me. My work is in leveraging or helping people leverage their greatness and seeing the greatness in others. And if people don't know about me, then they're not going to find me.
But you have a full client load, right? Or are you struggling for clients?
No, not at all. No. I had 3 six-figure months in succession.
So why the desire to be known more widely? You don't need to. You get clients by referral, by word of mouth, by you doing the work to create clients. You have great revenue you generate. Why more? You couldn't take more clients if you wanted
to. I think the truth for me is that I can find a space for the right client, create a space.
How many more? 1, 5, a dozen, 25?
I could probably serve 2 to 3 more.
Right. So do you need to be widely known to take on an extra 2 or 3 clients?
Not widely known, no. And this isn't what this is about. This isn't about that at all. This is about, I don't like the direction the world is going in, and at least how it feels to me. And, you know, when I've watched deep coaching videos that you've done, for example, the one that sticks in my mind is Simon Crow. You know, that's, when I watched that, I had a deep love of Simon, a deep love of yourself. But it's also what the world needs. They need to see that, the humanness that comes out in both you and Simon in a video like that. And that's what I feel I create in my office here, day in, day out. People just need to see that. I want to record coaching sessions and put them out into the world.
Awesome.
I don't really care if it creates another client. I don't need any more clients.
Yeah.
Not the reason for this. The reason for
so
this.
What's stopping you from recording your sessions?
Well, I do record some, but I obviously don't have the permission of the clients to put them out, and I don't want to create that retrospectively. I want to invite powerful people into coaching where they know it'll be recorded, and they know that it'll be put out if we both show up powerfully to that. Yeah.
I think it's an awesome way to share your magic. My podcast is all I do. I coach people because it's really fun, and it means that by the time people have listened to it, they come to me and they think I've already coached them, because I have. I've been in their head for the last few weeks or months or years as they listen to that. I would find a way to coach either current clients or potential clients. Let people know, look, hey, you want to work with me? It's X $1,000s a year to be a client, but I block out one spot a month where I coach for someone and there's no charge. But we'll record it on a video and it'll be put out onto my site because I like to share this magic that we do. Are you okay with that?
Sounds easy when you say it like that. and it is, right? I know that. Yeah. It feels edgy to do it.
Well, let's make it less edgy in this moment. If I could tell you that there was one person who would love to be coached by you and would know full well that it'd be recorded on a YouTube video and put up on your site because you want to share this magic that you do, would you like me to tell you who they are?
Sure.
Are you sure? There was a bit of hesitation there. I'm checking because it will make it very real in a second.
Sure.
Okay. Would anyone like to be coached by Chris, knowing that it will be recorded and put on video and released on his site? Okay. There you go. I just created the first 2 seasons of your new podcast or YouTube channel, Chris.
I had it on speaker there, so if you can reach out, I didn't see your hands, so if you can reach out, that'd be...
Yeah, so just send Chris a message in the app or in the chat right now, either private one or in the chat, and just say me, and he'll connect with people. And that's it. And it's a beautiful way to serve people who are not yet clients, give them an experience of you. And some of them will want more and become clients down the road. As long as you're not attached, it's not a secret bait and switch, and I know you don't play that way, but I want to distinguish that. And it's a beautiful way to let other people experience you because they'll watch you and listen to you. That video I did with Simon was 5 years ago. And I get messages all the time about that because it was very powerful. We were both moved in it. 5 years ago. I coached someone and still that video is helping to create clients 5 years later. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. Thank you.
Do you guys see too that how I played with Chris was not going where he thought he was going to go, which was to tell us about Project V. I don't know what Project V is. It was like, let me find out what does he really want? What's really underneath this question? And that's the power of this deep work that we do, finding out what do they really want. Hi, Erfa.
Hello.
Hey. So you came back for more, right?
I did. In fact, I think since April, I have now done 3 programs with you. So
yeah, that's right. How can I serve you in this moment?
Oh, I wasn't expecting that. I will tell you, I guess, about a coaching challenge that I've got. And it's one of those things where you said, like, fortunate problems. I have, for the last, I guess, 3 years, been treating coaching the way an amateur athlete does, right? So, you exercise every day. So I have 6 clients that I coach Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and 4 that are on a waiting list of sort where they pay a retainer. And if one of the regular ones is on holidays, I offer up a spot. And it's been wonderful, but no new clients. And I kind of want to get rid of some of the ones I have, but that's an awkward conversation. And so I do a lot of this in my life, and now I'm starting to do it in the coaching. I loved what you showed yesterday, right? I don't want you, but come and, so I'm not committing to anything. I'm just in this stuck space.
Yeah. Yeah. So often what shows up in business is what's also showing up in life. So, but let's handle it over here and you'll see how it applies out over there. Yeah, these are what I call quality problems. I love quality problems. There'll be some people possibly even in this room who, I wish I had a waiting list of clients, or people who paid a retainer and only got to show up if someone else was busy that day. And it's not feeding you anymore. It's not feeding your soul or your spirit. So give you a couple of ways to handle it. One is to speak to one of those clients. And let me give you the premise behind this. I have a practice of every year reviewing the people I'm working with and looking at who are the top 20%, the most interesting, the most fascinating people that I work with. And what if next year, what's currently my top 20% was 100% of my clients? Which means I have to let go of people each year to have the bar get set higher and higher. And I like to play that game personally. Who out of those 6 clients is your top 20%? So it's one person probably. Who's the one that inspires you the most? You love them, you admire them, interesting to talk to?
You know what, I'd probably say Chad, but when I started, I set out a formula for myself, right? So I said, I would never work with a competitor of somebody that I was coaching. And I said, I want one person in the public sector, one person in a not-for-profit, one person in an advanced manufacturing sector, one person in life sciences, one person who is a leader in the tech sector, and then one person who was doing sort of, I guess, personal stuff, right? And it was because I wanted to practice across, and I didn't want to bore myself. But, it's not working for me anymore. I'm kind of bored. And
yeah, look, what got you there?
Yeah.
What got you here won't get you there. That was a great premise to have people from different backgrounds. Now, this is the distinction I have filtered for a psychographic, not a demographic.
Yeah.
I mean, you might want to have always someone who's in a nonprofit world because it feels like you're making a difference. But really what you're filtering for is mindset. And my sense is that the mindset of these people isn't inspiring enough to you. They're not thinking big enough, or they're not unique and interesting enough, or there's something just missing for you. And that's okay. It doesn't mean anything about them. What that means is if you're no longer the right coach for them, you're actually being selfish by letting them continue with you. Because there is a coach out there who's a 10 out of 10 coach for those people, and it's no longer you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think our relationships are becoming more personal than professional. I feel like they're a crutch for me, and I'm becoming a crutch for some of them as well.
So for some of them, you can have that very, very honest conversation. Hey, I think it's time. And I believe that for all great coaching, there comes a moment when it's time to say to the client, it's time to go out in the world, do your thing, maybe come back in a week, a month, a year and talk again, but it's time to go out into the world. So I want to cut the strings and let you free. And that's going to happen in 3 weeks. That's going to happen in a month. That's one conversation. The other one is a fun one to play to build a different muscle, which is to say, hey, so-and-so, want to let you know that the time we've been working together, my rates have changed quite significantly. And so I want to let you know in a month's time, I'm going to grandfather you in still for another month at this rate. If you want to continue, we can have a conversation. We're going to see, are you up to something that excites you and me? But also I'm going to tell you my new fees, and I'm going to let you know they're quite significantly different to what they are now. And I would double, triple, quadruple your fees. Steve Chandler always used to say to me, have your fee be the no.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to say, I don't want to work with you anymore. You say, here's the fee. And then they get to decide, you know, for what I'm up to, I don't care, that new number. I've had clients, I've raised my rates while I've been working with them. They keep coming back for more.
Yeah. I have to tell you, I mean, you know, you learn so much. And if I was to start again, I put in a couple of clauses in my contract. I put in this exclusivity clause where I said, you know, if you hire me, I promise I will not work for one of your competitors. I also put in a clause saying, you know, if you sign up now, as long as you continue to pay me, I will not raise my rates for you, even if they're raised for the rest of the universe. And in retrospect,
Great. And it's okay to say to somebody, hey, you know, I had a clause that said this a year ago, but I have to be honest, it doesn't feel, Christopher uses a great phrase. He talks about a fair and equitable exchange of energy. And so if it doesn't feel that fair and equitable anymore, it's okay to go back and revisit an agreement.
No, yeah, fair enough. And there's the fear, because, you know, I don't have anybody to replace them with, right? Like,
no, but you can't have anyone to replace them with because they're taking up all your energy. The moment 1, 2, 3 of them go, you can relax into the space that's created. And now you can start to see all sorts of interesting people much closer than you realize who are a potential client. You can't see them right now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Erfa. Thanks. And what you guys got? What's an insight from anything that's come up today? Let's see what you got. Ooh, I see a line that Parisa used. The income wasn't worth the torture. Ouch. Feel that one. Anyone know that one? The income wasn't worth the torture. That's interesting, Alina, what you did. That's great. Hey, Dr. Alexis Shepperd. Hello. Hey.
Hi.
Want to play?
I do.
Okay. What you got?
It's perfect. You are feeling me. I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth next, but you are feeling me. I really resonated with what Chris was sharing in a way. And I thought about, I'll share it with those who are not in for PC. I do a process, a way of working with people called circling. It's kind of like coaching, but a little different. And I've been offering sessions to people in for PC. And I was thinking back before I offered the first session in February in Santa Fe, I didn't really know how it was going to be received. And then I've been so glad. I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but a lot of people seem to love it. And I have been struggling with, in these last few years, finding my motivation, my big enough why to get out there and like do some kind of big work in the world again. I think that's always been kind of given to me. Like everything I created in the past came from like just a burning desire, you know, some superficial levels, wanting some success or some income or whatever, but most of it came from feeling like there was something I had to share with the world. And that hasn't been as clear to me in the last few years, and it's left me feeling kind of out at sea. But something about what Chris just shared, and I thought about my own desire to share videos of circling people. And every time I thought about it, it's like, well, that's a better way to do it than describing it, or a better way to do it than a good way to get clients. It just was held nothing for me. When I thought about it, it's like just something that the world can be impacted by, for the people that are impacted by it. Just to see other people be raw and real and go someplace that might be unexpected, and that their soul is calling to go. Not that every session does that. I mean, but that I just felt so glad to feel a desire big enough in me that would motivate me to do that.
Nice. Yeah, I feel that in this moment.
It's the first time I felt that in a long time.
Yeah. Will you sit with that feeling for a minute? Because I want to use my remote control and put you on pause and remote and mute and talk to everyone for a second. You see, Alexis is a very interesting character. Alexis she created a modality called circling, co-created it with people. I met Alexis 15 years ago, 14 years ago, and she was one of my teachers back then. Created this modality called circling that has gone out internationally. I don't know how many countries across the world this modality is called circling. It's gone out so far that teachers who have taught it to other people who've trained in it to teach it, that it's like 3-4 levels down. People don't even know that Alexis was part of the founding of this. Like on one level, that is what I call an impact. The kind of impact when people don't even know that it was you, that's a beautiful impact and a ripple effect. On the other side, the quality problem is like, but nobody knows it was me. And you want to have some of that. Yeah, I totally understand that one too. And so she's created this modality called circling that's gone out and had a massive impact. And then over the last few years, Alexis got really burnt out and drained by all the work that she did. And she's been rebuilding herself for the last couple of years, building her muscles again. And she's feeling strong enough to get out into the world and put something out into the world. And she has a modality called circling that is really hard to put into words. But I've played with Alexis for a few years now, 2 years, I think now. Her PhD thesis was around this idea of being deeply moved. Deeply moved. You can see just in a conversation with Alexis, Alexis is someone who allows herself to be deeply moved in a way that many of us hold back from. She's not afraid to go there. And she helps others to understand what it means to be deeply moved and what's on the other side of being deeply moved. And it's a good thing she's muted right now, because she'd hate me if she could actually hear what I'm about to say. But I've been saying to her for a couple of years, it's time to create a book with the title Deeply Moved. Now, I don't know whether it's a book or some kind of, when I say TV show, I don't mean on Netflix, but a series of videos of YouTubes of her showing what circling is and letting people be a witness to an experience of deeply moved. But it's really hard to put this stuff into words. And that's where she struggles, because how do you explain this thing? How do you tell others about it? And it's the premise of the Prosperous Coach. Don't sell the concept of what you do, sell the experience. Get people in a coaching call with you and coach them. And then you don't have to tell them what it is, they've experienced it. And what we've discovered, Alexis, as we started to film these in 4PC is like, because initially I was saying to you, I was pushing back, let's not film them. It's too intense, it's too personal. And then we discovered, actually it's really powerful to be filmed. Sometimes the person wants to witness themselves later, and sometimes others can witness the experience. So I forgot, I've turned off my mute button and I'm talking directly to you now. I love this idea of you diving back into something that you have a PhD in around being deeply moved and sharing that. It's very powerful and it's very needed right now.
And I feel, it feels still new to feel, I haven't been feeling a why that is big enough to motivate me more than just the person right in front of me. I haven't been feeling a why in a while, and I just am feeling a why big enough that's moving me. I'm afraid it's going to slip through my fingers. It's okay. I know it'll come back, but I think that's what I have been needing, is a why that is big enough, because it just being about making money or getting more clients or me building a thing, like I've already done that, like nothing. Anyway, I'm just grateful to be in contact with it a little bit right now. And I think maybe I'd like to continue to be supported in that somehow. to help me continue to reconnect with my big why.
There's a little paradox in here, of course, right?
Yeah.
You know, one of the things is, you can't move others unless you're deeply moved yourself. You can't move others unless you're willing to feel moved yourself. And you're modeling it right now. It's moving, being in your presence. And as you stay in touch with this, you'll be able to move others, whether it means moving them to pay you money or watch a video or learn from you, they'll be moved. At the same time, if the only thing that gets you doing this is if I feel so deeply moved I have to, there'll be days, because you're human, when you wake up and like, I don't want to do this today, or I feel tired today. And so there's that little paradox of being in touch with both. Well, what do I do if I don't wake up feeling deeply moved today? Is it okay to go and sit in my comfy chair and do nothing? Or do I just have a practice? I take one small action anyway, even if I don't feel deeply moved. And sitting with the paradox rather than giving you an answer, but just putting the paradox into the room right now is important.
I think being somebody who, of course, I have had that. I mean, you have to do that to get a freaking PhD or create some companies. I mean, I pushed myself to do all kinds of things I don't want to do. And then I've had so many like ego dissolutions that I found in myself a part that was like, oh, I didn't even know bottom could go that low where, you know, I could just be like, well, I'm not committed to anything, you know, so I'm having to like find what you're talking about from a whole different ground than the me in the past used to have that. The me that would to find commitment, to follow through on things no matter what I'm feeling, but not from steamrolling myself or any of my old motivations.
Yeah. That's a really good place to look. How do I keep creating without it being committed no matter what and burning out in the process? The paradox of feeling deeply moved is that on one level, you can deeply move others and create all sorts of magic in the world. But if you allow yourself to fully feel everything in the way that you can more than most people, I imagine it's overwhelming at times.
That's better than not caring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
I keep owning this as my thing, and it is, but it's really time to get a tiny book out in the world called Deeply Moved. You've been writing it for 20 years. You've been living it for more. It's time to get something out in the world where you teach this again.
Okay.
It's okay to say, I hate you, Rich. You don't have to do that. And I keep pushing you, and so that can be my thing. And you've taken something out into the world that's gone really big and really wide. And it's time to be known for that. And I'll take you off the hot seat.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alexis. You guys, will you put into the chat, we're 1 minute over time, so I want to wrap very fast. Put into the chat one insight, one takeaway. What have you got from anything that happened today? More to come on Tiny Books, Garrison. Hey, Dwayne, will you say more about the wow? Just put something to the chat. Just elucidate the wow a little bit. Some great insights here. Thank you. All right, gang. Might see some of you tomorrow. We'll all be on different calls during the day. Rest up on Sunday. Back in a room on Monday. Let's all unmute. Send each other some love. There's no connection corner after this. So after we've sent each other some love, we're going to say goodbye. Bye, gang.
Bye.
Bye, gang. See you all.
Thanks, Rich. You guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for today.
Love ya.
Alexis Shepperd, you're a goddess.
Yes,
Amazing.
you are.
Second that, Alexis.
Yes,
Love
more
Alexis.
Alexis, you're a queen.
Fucking queen.
Oh, Alexis.
Bye, gang. Thanks, Ashton. You can close the door now.